Grant Peeples is here to sing and chat, and Happy New Year, Grant.
Happy New Year to you, Marcie. I didn't know that Lucinda had done that record. I've kind of been off Facebook for a little while, and I did not know she had done a Beatles record.
Well, you'll just have to listen.
Have you heard the whole thing?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes. You'll have to listen to words and music.
It's out in...
Yeah. Well, you can listen. It's okay. But, you mentioned being off Facebook.
Yeah.
I remember right after the election, you sent an email saying that you were going off social media, that you needed to focus on your art and...
Yeah, and, some of it was I didn't want to get on there and see, hear stuff and see stuff that I didn't. But a lot of it was it was just sucking a lot of it was such a soul-sucking thing. I went back on 2 days ago, and to where I could get on there and some posts like we just. And we were in the car this morning, and I went on to do it, and then we were sitting there, and there I was looking at reels of people jumping off cliffs into rivers and stuff, and so that was the real reason I did it.
Oh, so it wasn't the politics.
Well, I thought it was the politics. I was saying that's kind of what it was, but what I really realized is after I spent over a month off of it and cleared my head a little, what I really realized was it was just that soul-sucking part of it. Just, I watch chainsaw porn. I'm a chainsaw guy, and then they have all these, guys cutting down these big trees and how they did all this stuff. And at the end of the day, I would look back, and I'd spend a half hour looking at that kind of stuff. So that was the real reason. I'm back on now, and I'm just really trying to moderate it as best I can.
Do you find that you are writing more? Oh,
absolutely. I'm writing more, and I'm working on a book right now, and that had a whole lot to do with it. I really needed that time for that. And it changed. It changed. It was a major thing to get off of it. I'm not smoking weed now. That was my thing. It started January 1st, not doing that. And I find that the feeling that I have having given up weed is very similar to the feeling I had giving up social media. It's the same kind of thing. And
well, I was going to ask if you were a New Year's resolution kind of guy, and I guess...
Yeah, it wasn't. I'm only doing it for a month. I said that I was going to do it because, I don't drink. I haven't drank in 30-something years, and I have a lot of friends who go dry on January. So I told Ruthie, I said I was going to do it to be in solidarity with my friends who weren't drinking. And she said, well, they're all just smoking more weed when they're not drinking. But... Yeah, and that's been really interesting, too, Pema Chodron says that every now and then you need to pull the rug out from under yourself, Oh, I like that. And I kind of have a history of trying to do that every now and then.
Well, you mentioned Ruthie. Ruthie is your beloved, and she's here today with us. So Happy New Year to you, too. It's lovely to have the company.
Yeah, really. It's a whole lot. She was been in Nashville with her grandchildren, but I picked her up at the airport yesterday.
Oh, Happy New Year.
We have flown in, and we've met at a lot of airports over the last 10 years. We do that quite a bit.
Well, from the happy to maybe the less so, I wanted to hear your song, Insurrection Song, because today's January 4th, and on Monday is when Congress certifies the new president, so it seemed a perfect time to hear it. Right. I understand you started the song right after the attack on the Capitol, but it took almost a year.
It took a little while, and I actually I called in my nephew to help me finish it. I was just kind of stuck on it, and so it's a co-write. I had kind of the chorus together, but it just wasn't coming together. And I wanted it to be, the right song because I had a feeling I was going to be singing it for a while. And I didn't know I was going to be singing it after 4 years. Yeah. That's the interesting thing. January 6th, it's in 2 days. As far as have you heard anybody calling progressives to the Capitol to bust down the doors? Yeah, I haven't heard any clarion calls for that. But yeah, it's when I wrote the song, I had no idea. I would have never dreamed that I would have to return to it, and 4 years later, that we would be right back kind of where we were.
Well, let's hear it.
All right. Can I read a little poem? I have a short one that I would like to read.
Of course.
And this is a poem I wrote right after the election in 2016, and it's called "Who Are Those People?" In the days following the election, she would stagger out into public, swaying with a sort of ear-ringing vertigo. It felt to her as though she were teetering without a handhold on a rocky canyon rim. And with every pair of eyes she met, she wondered, are these pupils some of those blinded portals now open to seething with victory and oblivion? As each person passed, she would ask herself, is this one of those individuals? One who recently recklessly reckoned with the devil? One who sold their daughters into Sodom? For God's sake, she muttered beneath her breath, why don't they just go ahead and start wearing their damned armbands and jackboots? Well, let us all remember the day in 21, the 6th of January, when the deadly deed was done. They were charging up the hallowed steps, busting down the doors, shoving past, breaking glass, and peeing on the floor. It was an insurrection, and patriots must stand, heed the call for justice, and let leniency be damned. 'Cause freedom's just another word for all we have to lose. Let the sons of bitches rot in jail for what they tried to do. An angry mob of QAnon, Proud Boys and Boogaloos, fascist thugs and racists, a band of angry fools. They were chanting words of treason, waving flags that bore the name of the lying lame Dick Loser, the one who lit the flame. It was an insurrection, and patriots must stand, heed the call for justice, and let leniency be damned. 'Cause freedom's just another word for all we have to lose. Let the sons of bitches rot in jail for what they tried to do. So if you hear their cry for unity while questioning the facts, remember it's bad faith and lies that led them to attack. On the darkened day in history, let it not be forgot that a fool's a fool no matter who has planned the evil plot. It was an insurrection, and patriots must stand, heed the call for justice, and let leniency be damned. 'Cause freedom's just another word for all we have to lose. Let the sons of bitches rot in jail for what they tried to do. Yeah, freedom's just another word for all we have to lose. Let the sons of bitches rot in jail for what they tried to do. Hang the sons of bitches by the neck for what they tried to do.
Grant Peeples' Insurrection Song. One thing that strikes me now, and especially with the recorded version, which sounds almost like an Irish jig, is how jaunty, jolly the tune is and how angry the lyrics are.
Yeah, what strikes me is, it's just the idea that those exact people about, on January 20th, pardons will be issued to the very people that we have videos taking American flags, the sticks on which taking those sticks and busting down glass in our nation's capital. And the man that was recently elected by popular vote and electoral votes in our country will pardon those people. And I don't know. I think it's a very ineffable situation. I don't know if it's kind of like, truck drivers, semi-drivers. The one thing they always fear more than anything else, crashing or turning over, is going down some street and then getting at the end and going, oh no, only way out is to back out of here, because those trucks, there are a lot of places that they can pull into forward, but just physically they're unable to come out of backwards. And I feel like that might be a metaphor for where we are. I don't know if we can back out of this.
Well, even congresspeople who were victims of the attack and condemned it in the early days now explain it away.
Yeah, Lindsey Graham and
Mitch McConnell.
Mitch McConnell. They were like, I remember seeing Lindsey Graham go, he said, "This is it." You know, that was what he was saying. This is enough. This does it, you know. And there's no way forward. You know, there's no way forward to it. And the only way is to back out, and I'm not sure if we're able to do that.
Well, your poems like Who Are These People and songs like Insurrection Song, it sounds like one of your fears is that people will forget about this, and you remind them.
Yeah, there's that, and then there's a story in the New Yorker this week, and the title, I haven't read it, I just saw it. It says, "Why facts don't change people's minds." I'm interested in reading that because I think that has a lot to do with it. That we've kind of grown up under this this idea that, you know, there's this kind of rational thing that moves us forward as a culture, you know, and that we find out what the truth is and that we make decisions based on that truth. And, you know, it's kind of up and down and back and forward, and we veer and make mistakes, but it essentially kind of propels us forward, that this adherence to facts and logic and reason, and maybe that's really not the way we operate.
Well, you said you called in a relative to help you finish. I remember when we talked about your album, A Murder of Crows, and your song, A Murder of Songs.
Oh, yeah, I call it A Murder of Crows, too, believe it or not, yeah.
And your song, Dear Sadie, that your family does not share your politics. Yeah. Is this someone who does?
This is the nephew, my first wife, who is still a very dear friend of mine. This is her sister's son, who was raised. I was his uncle the whole time he was being raised. He's 40-something years old now, and so I'm still his uncle, and we still have a very close relationship.
Well, that's wonderful. Yeah. That's wonderful. There's another song I got to air recently, a new song, but one you didn't write, called Sometime. And what intrigued me initially, even before I heard it, was that you said it was written by Mary Gauthier and Vince Gill, who I don't even think of as knowing each other, let alone being songwriting partners. Do you know how this song came to be, and how did you get your hands on it?
It's kind of a long story. I'll talk fast.
Shocking.
It came from Mavis Staples. The original idea came off stage and turned to Vince Gill and said, "Man, you know, we have seen some times." And so the way they do in Nashville, they have these little coffee sessions, and different songwriters are put together by music publishers. And Vince and Mary, who were friends, but they had a session and they got together, and Vince told her that story, and that was the genesis of it. And then for some reason, Vince wanted to get Orange Blossom Special in it, and Mary didn't even know the song Orange Blossom Special. So it has kind of a Florida theme to it. Anyhow, they worked on it, and they ended up with the song called Sometimes, and it's not sometimes, it's two words, sometimes, and Mavis Staples was the origin of that. And Ruthie and I were playing a festival in North Carolina a couple years ago, and Mary debuted the song there with the little lyrics and everything, and it floored me, and I asked for permission to record it, and neither one of them have recorded. Emmy Lewis singing it now, and a lot of people are singing it, but I got there first. I don't know what that's going to... But yeah, that's how I ended up with the song, and they gave me permission. It took a little while. Mary was okay with it, but she had to get the Vince Gill permission, and it was one of those things. I asked for it, and it was a couple months. I didn't hear anything, and I thought, you know, no answer was the answer, no. But then I got a green light.
Do you know if Mary or Vince plans to record it themselves?
I do not know. I really don't.
Yeah. Have you heard from either of them about your version?
Oh, yeah. Well, we stay in touch with Mary. Mary's played at Ruthie's house concert, and you know, Mary's life partner, Jamie Harris, has been a friend of mine for 10 years. She sang on my records, and so we're friends with them. And
well, Mary and Jamie both will be in here in the studio live on February 1st.
Okay, I want you to do a thing. I want you to do something for me. I want you to. Okay, I've been asking. So when she comes in, I want you to just say, "Hey." She might do the song, but you just tell her that you really like her cover of the Grant Peeples song Sometimes, if you would do that. See what she says.
I'll do it. I'll do it. Well, on that note...
They're going to be in studio in February with you.
Yeah.
Are they playing your house concert in January? Okay. Right. Well, good.
All right. Well, let's hear the song.
Okay. This is Sometimes. I worked the Orange Blossom Special, 48 to 54, Manhattan to Miami. Well, I was in the dining car till Eisenhower built the interstates, jetliners filled the skies, and luxury trains got boarded, and the railways, they all died. Sometimes I have seen, sometimes. Well, they shot JFK and Bobby and Martin Luther King. These days, guns, they're everywhere, Lord, they're shooting everything. I lived to see my first black president, made me so proud I cried. I saw the insurrection and I can't say I was surprised. Sometimes I have seen. Sometimes I have seen. Sometimes I am an old man now, this life is almost done. But in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome. And I see through this world of sorrow to a better tomorrow, if we can get there without a loaded gun. Well, my wife was 60 years. She died 7 years ago. And when I dream about her now, in the dreams we are not old. So if you see a locomotive come a-running down the line, would you say a prayer for her when you hear that whistle whine? Sometimes I have seen. Sometimes I have seen. Sometimes.
Grand Peeples, sometimes, you joke about it, telling Mary, I love your, could you sing Grand Peeples songs sometimes? But, with lines like, I saw the insurrection, can't say I was surprised, it does feel to me like a song you could have written.
Yeah, as soon as I heard it, as soon as I heard it, I knew that I wanted to try to get my head around it. And I had a friend who had videoed it, and I asked her to send it to me, and so I learned the song before. I wanted to make sure I could, I don't really learn songs really quickly, and I wanted to make sure I could kind of get my arms around it before I even asked Mary. And I thought it was interesting too. You don't think of Vince Gill as I can't think of a single Vince Gill song that has ever had a twist like that, and certainly Mary has. But I thought it was interesting that he put his stamp on that concept.
Well, it does say
and about guns as well. It had definitely, and so.
Yes, and it does say, in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome. How hopeful are you?
I'm not real hopeful, and I'm not going to be. Like I said, I don't think we're going to back out of it. I think wherever we are now, I think we are going to go way, way down from where we are right now. I anticipate really bad stuff, and I don't think I'm being pessimistic. I think I'm trying to just be a realist, It's what I'm not sure about is how we, collectively, as people who consider themselves progressives, who have believed all our lives that there's this kind of linear thing in which, a few steps forward and one back, but we have kind of gone through history and, eliminated slavery, and women have gotten the right to vote, and civil rights and desegregation, and environmental legislation and gay marriage. We've kind of had this kind of linear progressive thing, and we believed in the inevitability of that. that is in question with me now. I'm not really sure that is my understanding of history anymore, and I was a history major. And so I don't know how we as a group, what our role will be. How much are we going to stand up? How tall are we going to stand up against this? How willing are we to fight? I have a song called It Could Be a Long Night, which I wrote after it, and it talks about, that in 2017, I was singing, we're going to have to face some stuff now, and it's going to take courage, and it's not going to take the kind of courage it takes to post some BS on Facebook. It's going to take moral courage. It's going to take physical courage. It's going to take spiritual courage to fight it, and I'm not sure we got it. I'm really not sure if we've lost that. I don't know if we have. Surely we have the ideals. Surely we have, the beliefs, but do we have the courage? And I'm not sure we got it.
Well, another problem, you said you were a history major in college. We're not really teaching our history so that we can learn from it.
No, we really aren't. And history, that's one of the things they've taken over. The school curriculums is one of the first things that you see in this 2025 plan. Where they want is the schools. I mean, first of all, they want to get people out who, the future possible liberal voters they want out of the country. That includes, that's why they're going to do these mass exportations, and then the next thing to take control of the judicial part. We see now when Trump came in. Sorry, I said his name. I didn't mean to do that. But when he came in 2017, the first thing they started doing, the first focus was the judgeships. They wanted to get that. And so judgeships and schools are the two things that they know that's what cements their future if they can get that. So curriculum is a huge part of that. And what, but between now and the next 4 years, what will happen to the curriculum, what will happen to the judicial part of our government, including the Supreme Court, it's going to be very dark and monumental. It's going to be huge what they're going to do.
There's something else in the song, less political, more personal, where the narrator says, my wife of 60 years died, and if you hear a locomotive whistle, think of us. And it made me think of John Prine's Hello in there.
Yeah.
And I understand you are singing at a John Prine tribute show tomorrow at the Safety Harbor Art and Music Center.
Yes, we're having. Yeah, I'm doing a few songs, but we've got Passerine will be there. Josh Riley will be there, who is a Pinellas County phenomenon. But he was at that same show, playing that same show in North Carolina when I heard Mary do that song. And Rebecca Pulley will be there, so it'll be us four.
I don't know if it made you think of Prine or if you're a longtime Prine fan.
Well, yeah, I remember, it sounds a little hyperbolic, but I remember exactly where I was when I first heard John Prine, where my freshman year of college, and the dorm room and the people that were in the room when I heard Sam Stone. That was the first song I ever heard, and I would say in many ways it had as much effect on me as the Dylan stuff that I had heard, and yeah, so he's been a major factor.
That is so interesting. When I spoke with John Paul White, who used to be in the Civil Wars, he said that in college, his friends couldn't believe he didn't know who John Prine was, so they played him Sam Stone. Right. And it's interesting. He said his first thought was, that guy can't sing, so therefore he must be pretty profound. And as soon as he got to the chorus, there's a hole in Daddy's arm where all the money goes. He was hooked for life.
Yeah, man, I don't know if there's ever been a stronger song lyric than that. And of course, it was the first. The thing about Prine was that an anti-war song? I don't know. But it was written not from the point of it was focused on the people who went and did that, and the casualties of, and America has done this for the last 100 years. We have brought millions and millions of people home from conflicts like that. And we bring them home from that, and we stick them right into our society, and and the stuff that comes back and gets into our culture and into our belief system, into our behaviors and all that. From this war after war after war that we've been in, and these people who are so affected and wounded, it's unbelievable. And that he picked up on that. It had nothing to do that war is bad. He didn't have, it wasn't any of that. He did it. You know, and I teach these songwriting courses every now and then because at festivals, because for some reason people think I'm the guy to teach the protest song, and I have this, you know, and the first thing I do when I'm doing these little workshops of a protest song, as I say, there's two kinds of protest songs. There's one that says, killing the whales is terrible. Stop harpooning the whales. It's morally indefensible to do this. We're horrible for doing that. And that's one kind. And another kind of protest song is one that you just write it from the view, you know, that you are a mother whale who has just been harpooned, you know, and you have a baby there beside you, and you write that song from that point of view. And if you do, it has a whole different kind of feeling. It's more transcendent, you know, and it hits deeper, just like there's a hole in Daddy's arm, you know.
It hits deeper, and people will keep listening to it. Pete Seeger called the first kind of song an essay.
Yeah, they're polemics, you know. I didn't know that. Yeah, that's a really good. And I've done my best to try to stay away from that. I think the insurrection song is an essay, but I've tried. You know, I've tried to be very mindful that. You know, I don't want to be an essayist, you know.
Well, I'm happy that this new year is also going to start out with a new song from you.
Yeah, this is a personal song. I think, you know, I lived in Nicaragua for a number of years. I moved down there in 1995, and I was there for 11 years. And the whole time I was there. After I moved there, I had been dating this girl up here in the States, and she came down. I had gotten malaria, and she came down and kind of nursed me back, and then ended up staying, and we ended up getting married. And we came back to the States, and after being down there 11 years, and the marriage came apart. But this is a song I wrote to her. We are not in contact anymore. We don't exchange Christmas cards or anything. But this is a song I wrote for her.
And what's it called?
It's called Little Island. The name of the island I lived on is called Little Corn Island, and it's off the coast of Bluefield. It's in the Caribbean. A lot of people don't know that Nicaragua has Caribbean islands, and it is but nobody ever says down there. They never say Little Corn. They just call it Little Island. So this is called Little Island. And it's new, so I'm going to flub it up a little bit, so be patient with me, Marcie. First words are always the hardest. I found a photo yesterday in the bottom of a drawer. It was you years ago on Little Island, in a short flowered dress and a little floppy hat. I couldn't tell, but maybe you were smiling. In the photo you were standing on a cliff above the ocean. You were pointing towards a ship on the horizon. The message therein was your ship was coming in. I think that's what you thought on Little Island. I went back to Little Island at the end of last year. The people there, they asked me all about you. I lied and said that we were still friends. I'd rather told the truth but didn't know how to. Went up to the hotel and I stared into the very well. I dug back in 1998. I could see your reflection in the water at the bottom. For a minute there I almost said your name. Yes, I almost called out your name. Sandino vive, la lucha sigue, no me conviene lo que pasó. This is no apology, I just been thinking about the days, those days long ago. On Little Island. There were no Indians sleeping in catboats in the harbor, no lobster being hauled up from the sea, no turtle turtles being slaughtered, no cocaine being bartered, just the tourists in the new shops and cafes. I tell you, it was strange, the whole damn scene, like I was living in some kind of dream. Yeah, ghosts were everywhere, that same mystery in the air. Some things haven't changed on Little Island. Things have stayed the same on Little Island. Sandino vive, la lucha sigue, no me conviene lo que pasó. This is no apology, I just been thinking about the days, those days long ago on Little Island. I remember the day we took a freight boat to the Main, on the aft deck in a hammock in the shade. A little bird flew in, he ate breadcrumbs from your hand, and the people there were all so amazed. But me, I guess I knew your spirit through and through was more connected to that bird than men like me. The birdie flew away, I saw tears on your face. I watched as they fell into the sea. Yes, your tears, they returned to the sea. Sandino vive, la lucha sigue, no me conviene lo que pasó. This is no apology, I just been thinking about the days, those days long ago on Little Island. Well, that little house we built had fallen into ruin. Whatever we buried there has been lost. Forgotten but familiar, understood but peculiar. Everything, it added up to naught. Well, I walked among the graves where we buried our dogs, neath the shade where the hammocks had swung. I'm only writing to you now to make sense of this somehow. Try to figure out what went down on Little Island. I can't explain what took place on Little Island. Sandino vive, la lucha sigue, no me conviene lo que pasó. This is no apology, I just been thinking about the days, those days long ago on Little Island, on Little Island, down on Little Island.
Grant Peeples, Little Island, new music from Grant. Is it hard for you to share such a personal song with us?
It's different, you know. It's like when I realize and there's a different kind of headspace I get in when I do those. You know, when there's like Sadie and those, it's always a different headspace. It's a different transmission. I don't know how to really explain it, but I kind of my eyes are different, you know, like if I'm singing Sunshine State or January 6th and I'm playing live, I'm kind of looking around and making eye contact. And when I sing these songs, I'll usually find a point. I find a point, and that's where my head goes.
You're almost looking inward.
Yeah, I guess that's where it is. You know, I have to mine it as opposed to passing it on. You know, I have to kind of dig it up instead of handing it off.
Well, I cannot thank you enough for getting...
Man, you know, I just, you know, for all the years that, you know, and this, I was telling Ruth, you know, we came up, and I've been in a lot of radio stations in my little career, you know, and not only the building, you know, but just the whole community aspect of this radio station, and what you do for musicians, what you do for your community. Man, I'm just so happy to be part of this family.